Did you know you are still accountable if you outsource your services to the cloud and even if you have a cloud contract? You see, you cannot, I repeat, not outsource the ultimate accountability, risk, or compliance to the cloud service provider. This is often a common misconception in the cloud shared responsibility model, which defines the responsibilities of both the CSP cloud service provider, such as Amazon AWS or Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud. And the key CISSP CCSP exam takeaway is that the security responsibility of the cloud is the CSP cloud service provider's responsibility, whereas security in the cloud is the responsibility of you, aka the cloud customer or consumer. But what exactly does in and off the cloud activities entail? Well, off the cloud activities, usually done by the CSP, describes a task of protecting the overall cloud infrastructure. That is infrastructure that is controlled by the CSP, such as things within the data center. That are usually things that cloud customers or consumers cannot access. So this is the CSP's responsibility off the cloud. Whereas responsibility in the cloud are services consumed by customers, to which they have access depending on their cloud deployment and service model. But generally, these are things such as service and application configuration, general management tasks, and management of the guest operating system, such as updates, security patches, again depending on their service and deployment models, and general management of their compute instances and virtual machines within their cloud environment. And here is an important distinction between the responsibilities. You see, by default, most cloud services are secure out the box, e.g. when first received from the CSP. However, customers will then customize their cloud service, and this increases the security risks. For example, cloud customers will usually make their services more available to their customers through their web apps or systems or services online. For this reason, while CSPs retain some responsibility, you, aka the customer, almost always retain ultimate accountability as the data owner or data controller, as the CSP cloud service provider is only the platform or data processor. But ultimately, you, the customer, places your data or customer data on the cloud service provider. Therefore, you, the cloud customer, are ultimately accountable. And this moves us nicely into the next part of our video, which is around cloud contracts. And a contract is a legally binding instrument that governs the acts, expectations, and behaviors between two or more parties, e.g., between a cloud consumer, e.g., customer, and a cloud service provider, e.g., CSP. And an important technical keynote: a contract may enforce the adherence to a regulation being a need to define certain types of contractual relationships between the provider and the customer. For example, the General Data Protection Regulation (GDPR) is a regulatory requirement that most cloud service providers need to adhere to, and the adherence may be stated in a contract or a specific standard contractual clause known as SSCs. And standard contractual clauses can be applied in the same way to any other regulation that needs to be defined within the contract between the cloud customer and the cloud provider. Additionally, standard contractual clauses are a great way to mitigate any risks by putting these within the contract clause. Now, to recap and cement the knowledge we have learned so far, here is a typical CISSP CCSP exam question. What is the primary concern for many customers considering cloud services, and how does it impact their engagement with cloud providers? I will pause for a moment and feel free to pause the video yourself while you consider your answer. And the answer is security concerns. You see, security concerns are the primary issue for many cloud customers, with around 60% of businesses, according to the CISSP CCSP exam, stating that security is the number one barrier which prevents them from engaging with cloud services. And cloud customers can solve this problem by enhancing security by integrating contractual obligations or SCCs and minimum levels of security. But adding additional specific security controls often come with extra costs and also require non-disclosure agreements (NDAs). Now, whilst many cloud providers typically list their minimum levels of security, they will not list an extensive list of specific security control for fears that their infrastructure may be targeted by attack vectors and threats. But as a general rule of thumb, cloud customers can have whatever security they want as long as they are willing to pay for it. Now, let's move on to another typical exam question. You, aka the cloud customer, have been tasked to evaluate a potential agreement with a cloud service provider, CSP. Which of the following may not be necessary in such agreement? And here are your answer options. No, 3 of these options are correct and 1 is incorrect. Choose the incorrect option. I will pause for a moment while you have a think. And the incorrect answer was option 4, which I hope was common sense and self-explanatory. And so I won't expand on why these are the correct answers. But what I want to do is cover some very important technical keynotes around contracts. Now, the take-home message throughout this video is that if we need higher levels of assurance or confidence about how security controls are managed, stored, or operate in a cloud service provider CSP's environment, which we may or may not have access to, it is imperative that we get the contract and especially strong contract language right. And we need to be aware of any single points of failure, and any of these should be challenged and acted upon to reduce any outages or disruption to our businesses, and this in turn reduces any risks. Now, in some cases, some cloud service providers provide a right-to-audit contract clause. However, this is usually uncommon because most cloud service providers don't want to give out that kind of information, as internal information about the environment could be put into the wrong hands. However, cloud service providers such as AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud understand that cloud customers want to have a degree of confidence and assurance in the security controls at the cloud provider's environment. For this reason, these CSPs generally have SOC reports, as SOC, System and Organizational Controls, that are done regularly by a third-party independent audit or external audit. The most common cybersecurity SOC type report is known as a SOC 2. Now, I covered the various types of SOC reports in a separate technical video which is linked here if you would like to learn more. But for the context of this video, just understand that a SOC report can usually fill indirectly the right to audit clause without actually putting that into the cloud customer's contract. Now, let's talk about the technicalities that need to go into such contract when evaluating cloud service providers. But again, I want to reiterate and focus on the most important point throughout this video. It is always the cloud customer's responsibility, e.g. you, to determine what requirements must be met and to ensure that the cloud service providers are meeting those requirements within the stated contracts. Which means it's important that cloud customers understand their requirements before agreeing any capability or service or contract into the cloud. And furthermore, cloud customers should always periodically review the cloud services agreements, because commonly cloud service providers tend to change their acceptable use policies and terms and conditions, as well as any service level agreements, which can potentially void any customer requirements prior agreed. And one way to keep track of all of this is when a cloud customer performs a gap analysis. Now, I want to touch upon a very technical keynote. There are a number of documents and agreements that can form contracts in various forms. And even during my own exam studies and research, I found that many literatures vastly overcomplicate such a simple concept when it comes to contracts. So let's start with the Master Services Agreement, or MSA, which is the overarching contract. And the MSA establishes the overall legal framework, terms and conditions for the duration of the long-term vendor-client relationship. However, often attached to an MSA is another type of contract known as a Service Level Agreement, SLA. And you can think of the SLA as a combination of a rulebook and a legal contract, as the SLA is usually a technical document that specifies specific metrics and performance and uptime and quality standards, etc. And here's a very important technical bonus tip. You may hear of a term known as Memorandums of Agreements, MOAs, or even Memorandums of Understanding, MOUs. And generally, any of these memorandum type of documents are usually business related rather than technical security related. So they are similar to SLAs but serve a different purpose. Again, complementary, not competing, but different in its scope. So, put another way, think of the MSA as the what-if document, whereas the SLA is the more how well. And the MSA and the SLA essentially work together. I hope you found this video enjoyable and informative. If you did, it would be awesome if you could leave a like and subscribe if not already to help support this channel's growth. as even a simple like is so vital to help this channel grow, otherwise YouTube and myself cannot know if you are enjoying these videos, so any likes and subscribes are greatly appreciated, ladies and gents. Thank you for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed the content as much as I enjoyed creating it. If you would like to see more content like this, it would be super fantastic if you could leave a like and subscribe to help support this channel's growth.